whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone this evening to the Henley Town annual meeting. This is a meeting of parish electors and not a town council meeting. As Mayor of Henley-on-Thames, procedure suggests that I chair the meeting. With county council elections coming up on the 6th of May, we are now in a period of purdah. As such, I will not allow any remarks or questions that I feel relates to the election. Since the last annual town meeting in April 2019, Henley Town Council has a new town clerk, Sheridan Jacqueline Edward. For those of you that have not met Sheridan, he joined us on the 2nd of September 2019. And since then has made quite an impression on both staff and councillors. Unfortunately, like the majority of us, he has spent the best part of the last year at home. But this has not stopped him from making a number of changes at council procedures and staffing. I know Sheridan loves the town council, but I just wondered if he'd like to respond just for a couple of minutes, just tell people exactly who he is and where he's come from. So if I can just hand over to you, Sheridan, for just a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly will try and keep it brief anyway. But it's lovely to be welcomed to Henley. I've been here, I've been working here for the best part of 18 months, although as Ken has alluded to, I only spent about 6 months of that actually in the town hall, and the rest of the time I've been running the town council from my house in Wallingford. But I have to say that the time I have been able to spend in Henley is fantastic. I have met so many of you already, and I feel that in the past 18 months I've really got to know Henley and the community very well. And I have to say it is a really wonderful council to work for. Having worked for many councils, what's really struck me about Henley is the fact that the community and the council and councillors do really go above and beyond. That they want to do more than just the bare minimum of what's required of a council. And I found that very, very refreshing, and it's provided lots and lots of challenges as well. And I really look forward to kind of helping the council achieve its aims over the next few years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shep. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. You think everything's in under control, then something else just kind of jumps out of the woodwork. And you know, a typical example is Thames Farm that's just recently come up about they want to dump all their water on town council land. So Sheridan's had to drop everything and dealing with that, and obviously doing a really good job. So thank you, Sheridan. As mayor, I am ex officio to a number of local organisations in the town. Unfortunately, most voluntary organisations have had to put their fundraising on hold, which also has a knock-on how much money is given to local charities. I know how difficult this has been myself, having had to cancel 2 charity civic dinners, and how this will affect the 3 charities that I was going to donate money to. The COVID-19 pandemic lockdown started in March last year, and I find the residents have done really well. They've done the town proud, either by helping their neighbours or indeed setting up organisations on a larger scale. Thank you all for the support you have given over the last year. It's been more than welcome. Thank you. I'd also like to thank members of the town council staff and councillors in the way they have been out on the street, helping out wherever they can. Yeah, thank you to everybody that's helped out there as well. One can only hope now that the beginning of the end is near, but I would still ask all families to follow government guidelines for our future health. Looking at what happened over the last couple of evenings on town council land and Royal Regatta land is totally unacceptable for our town. The amount of litter that's been left, that is totally unacceptable. Finally, I'd like to thank the residents that sit on town council working groups. Without them, we would never been able to achieve the amount of things that we do. and I'll make further comments at that mayor making when that takes place on the 17th of May. Thank you. That's my opening remarks. Item 2, Town Clerk, I've got apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence?
I have apologies from Town Councillor and District Councillor Lorraine Hillier.
Okay, thank you. Item.
Sorry, apologies, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if the office manager, Nikki Taylor, has received any apologies as well.
Has anybody else received any apologies? No, okay, thank you. Item 3 was minutes of the previous meeting. Unfortunately, the previous meeting never took place last year because of COVID. So unfortunately, there are no minutes to note. Item 4 on the agenda is for reports from town, district and county councillors. I'm not sure if everybody's been able to see the agenda. The agenda was all online on Henley Town Council's website. And I'll go through these one at a time. I'll start with the county council first. That report is on page 2. I'll just find out on page. Just a second. That's on page 2 to page 5. And I could just ask Councillor Gavashak just to speak to that for a couple of minutes, just to basically speak to items on that, on the agenda, which will be sufficient. So if you could just speak to some bullet points on the agenda notes, Stefan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to speak at this annual town meeting. You have my report, which I've written. I'm proud to be the county councillor for Henley and have been for 4 years. And we've had some major achievements, I think, over that time that are in my report. So I'll just pick out some highlights. Over 3,000 potholes have been fixed in Henley. 26 major road schemes, including King's Road, Gravel Hill, St Andrews and Harpston, and 3 major drainage schemes have also taken place. This has resulted from the County Council in a record investment of almost £1 million in Henley's roads. And I think there's been significant improvement. There is still some to do. New Street, yes, and Grays Hill, but it's been a major step forward. We've introduced the 20-mile-an-hour zone. We have got a new crossing on Grays Road, and there are 2 more on Gravel Hill and Swiss Farm in consultation, which will be concluded at the end of this month. We've tackled air quality with getting a particular monitor down the bottom of Grays Road, which is the only one in the south of Oxfordshire. And I think possibly David Dickey will be speaking more about that. We are blessed in Henley with fantastic primary and secondary schools, which are now back at school. And we thank the parents and we thank the staff, and we also thank the students for their responsible attitude in going back to school and getting a first-class education. Finally, I've been working with the Heart and Bell Surgery on the vaccination programme with about 50 volunteers. And I asked Louise from the Bell Surgery to give me an update. Over 7,000 first doses have taken place in Henley through the Heart and the Bell Surgeries from December. About 1,000 second doses have also taken place. Great thanks and praise must go to these healthcare professionals at the Heart and Bell Surgery for the administrative efforts and actually putting the vaccine into people's arms. Thank you for your support over the year, and it just shows when Henley works as a team, we can actually get things done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Stefan, for all the work you've carried out. Thank you. The next item, which is on page 6 of the agenda, is the report from the district councillors. Although I wrote the report out very quickly, if I've missed anything out, if either Councillor Kelly Hinton or Councillor Gavashak would like to add anything, but I'll just go through it very, very briefly. I think we've done fairly well over the last couple of years. We've managed to get funding of £145,000 for the refurbishment of the toilets in the Grays Road car park. Between the three of us, we've given out £40,000 in grants. £9,000 of that money was because of COVID. We've managed to get much better rubbish collections, I believe, through Biffa and Grundon. They both seem to be working well together. Kelly Hinton, Councillor Kelly Hinton, has been elected co-chairman of the General Licensing Committee, so congratulations to her for that. I did make a note that the local plan 2034 had been approved in December, last December, but at a committee meeting, a full council meeting last Thursday, the ruling group decided they wished to start up another local plan with the Vale of the White Horse, a dual plan, which to me, I spoke against it. I've been absolutely crazy. It's going to cost £1 million a year to produce. They're talking about it coming out in 2025. So that's £4 million of council money, which I think they're just writing it off. Although they have come up with a figure of £1 million worth of savings, but they've yet to show us where they are. So the only good thing, the local plan was approved, so we can now get on and carry on and complete the Harpston and Henley neighbourhood plan review. We've also introduced, or will be introducing, 1 hour free car parking in the Kings Road and the Grays Road car park throughout the day, which is similar to what's happened in other towns, but has never happened in Henley before. And that's one of the things I'm really proud of. We really fought for that. And finally, which I didn't put on the list, we now have a situation at planning meetings at SODC where the local councillor now can speak and vote on a local application. That was never allowed before. So I'm very pleased in the amount of work that we've carried out over the last 2 years. Kelly, if you think I've missed anything, would you like to add anything?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you covered it really well. It's been certainly an eye-opener being over at District, and it's a lot different style of work, most of which has been online over the last year, but they certainly keep us busy. So,
okay, all right, thank you. Stefan, anything, or you're okay?
Really, just very, very briefly, we really have to thank the SODC for their COVID response. They've done a fantastic response for businesses and also voluntary organisations. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, we now move on to the town council reports we have 4 different committees. We have a finance and strategy, recreation and amenities, planning committee, and a town and community. Each of the 4 chairmen have written reports. The first one is the finance and strategy. It's from Councillor Ian Ryson, which is on pages 7 to 9 of the agenda. Ian, if you'd just like to speak for a minute or two.
I have got a couple of updates and a couple of comments to make. Obviously, on the finance side, COVID has been a major hit, and in the report, I do say that we've identified negative variances, loss of money from as a result of COVID of about 111,000. And just to follow up on what Councillor Gavashak just said, we have managed to get grants from the district council to cover about 47,000 of that. So in fact, the hit we're taking from COVID looks like being considerably less than we'd feared when I wrote this report just a week or 2 ago. The investments are slightly, there's always good news and bad news. The investments I've also got an update on, and we had budgeted for this year an income primarily from dividends of £170,000, and it turns out that we're only going to get about 152 of that. So we're taking a hit on that, most of which was already included in the 111. So we are going to lose all of that. But obviously dividends have not been paid out, and the town council's investments have returned less. And lastly, on the finances, I was particularly pleased that we have adopted an ethical investment policy, which means we have either disinvested or are currently disinvesting from oil companies, tobacco companies, gambling companies, and so on. Those which rank as the worst in terms of ethical investment. And I tried this first. I tried first to get the council to do this about 10 years ago, and I didn't get much support. And I'm delighted that we did get universal support this year. We were able to adopt that, and we are now backing with our investments the climate emergency declaration that the town council made in last spring. And that we are putting into practice what we believe, and so I'm very pleased about that. There were two very, very different results on major projects. The Columbarium was opened last week, and so we now have a place where people can go at the cemetery. They can put the ashes and other and other mementos of their loved ones in the chapel. And I think that provides a very useful amenity. It also means that we have discharged our responsibility for maintaining that Grade 2 listed building, and they're also where we believe that it will be very popular and it will be a good use of the money as an investment. On a less sort of happy note, the 357 Reading Road project, which has been going 4 or 5 years, as I've been working on for all of that time, we finally felt that it wasn't financially viable anymore. We've had to pause that and review whether or not there is a possible project there. The one that we were working on didn't turn out to be financially viable, and we have to think a bit differently on that. But the aims and objectives of that, which are to make land available for housing and to improve sporting facilities in the town and improve the depot for the town staff, those are all objectives that we continue to wish to see through, and we are considering what our options are. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ian. The next one is recreation and amenities, and the one page goes from page 10 to page 17, and Kelly Hinton, the chairman, is always singing the praises of the Parks Department. If you haven't got an agenda, if you could just go online and have a look at this, but it's amazing the amount of work that this area of the town council has carried out over the last couple of years. So I'll pass over to you, Kelly, to sing the park's praise.
Thank you. I did do a very thorough report, so I will try to keep it brief. Obviously, like all other departments of Henley Town Council, COVID's had a major effect on parks and recreation. Parks have worked tirelessly throughout lockdown. We had a skeleton staff in the initial lockdown period, with many of the parks team furloughed. However, they all returned by May, including the 3 additional staff that were due to start in April but weren't able to at the time. We're managing our green spaces, opening things like the toilets, playgrounds, our equipment and the facilities. They've all required risk assessments, extra measures, and basically adapting to the ever-changing behaviours of the public, and touching on what you said, Mr. Mayor, at the beginning of the meeting about the litter. There really was no excuse for it. The last few days, for example, the bins weren't full, but the litter was all over the fields, and that's a behaviour problem that we need to try and address. But parks obviously managed it the best they can, and they will continue to do as we hopefully have more wonderful weather over the summer. And also now Recreation and Amenities Committee looks after all of the Henley Town Council buildings as well as our outside spaces, and this has been a real learning curve it is a learning curve for us councillors and also the staff. And I'd just like to end by thanking the Recreation and Amenities Committee for helping to keep the meetings running efficiently and quickly. And I'd also like to thank Becky, our estates manager, Judith and Caroline, the the admin staff, and the parks team led by Carl and Kyle, who all just work tirelessly to make our outside spaces the best that they could possibly be.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, most appreciative. Thank you very much. As I say, if anybody just log online, if you haven't got an agenda, it's just, well, even if you don't read it, just look at the pictures and you'll see what the parks team have done for the town. The next one is the planning committee, and that is, the chairman is Michelle Thomas, and I'll let her talk through that, because there's also a number of working groups that goes with the planning committee. So over to you, Michelle.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I took over as chair of planning last May, so I have yet to actually chair a meeting around the committee table. I'm very much looking forward to actually being physically in the town hall finally. When that will be, it's still a little bit unclear. We think it's probably going to be around the middle of May, but we're still not sure. As I've said in my report, the planning committee meet every 3 weeks. Usually committees meet every 6 weeks, but ours are every 3 weeks. It's just because of the sheer volume of planning applications that come through Henley-on-Thames. And it takes, on average, about 3 to 4 hours to look through every single part of the agenda, because of the amount of amended and new plans that are on there. And of course it has subcommittees, transport, climate emergency and the neighbourhood plan. So we also have that work coming through, the planning committee as well. So it's an awful lot of work. So I'd like to thank the planning officer, Jodie Rhymes, and also all of the councillors who make a big commitment outside of their own lives to keeping Henley-on-Thames, I suppose you could say maybe, away from, predatory developers maybe, and making sure that residents are, completely compliant with their extensions. There is a framework that's supplied by the government called the National Planning Policy Framework. And within that is contained paragraph 14, which I'd like to point out, which is a presumption in favour of development. So working in that kind of environment is very, very limiting, I have to say. However, with the district councillors that we have, particularly Councillor Arlett, who is able to call in inappropriate development in Henley with the agreement of other councillors in the planning committee. Councillor Arlett, perhaps I'm taking words out of your mouth, but when he's at one of these planning committees at SODC, he has to persuade and make sure that all of the planning reasons for refusal are put towards his councillor colleagues at the planning authority. Now, we have had some successes and some that haven't gone our way, such as the Newtown Road business estate, which made headline news in the Henley Standard. But of the ones that were refused and have gone to appeal, we've had 4 of 4 dismissed. Now that may seem like a very small number, but in fact it is a very large number and a very good result for Henley. So that's what I wanted to highlight really. Councillor Arlett has already highlighted the other one which I highlighted in my report, which was that democracy has been restored for Henley-on-Thames and the other towns and parishes in South Oxfordshire District Council. I think that's what I'd like to say. I didn't know if the other chairs of the other committees wanted to speak on transport and the others. I'll leave it up to those individual chairs, I think.
I think we'll leave it there, Michelle. It's in your report. You also have the neighbourhood plan committee there.
Neighbourhood Plan, Transport and Climate Emergency.
And the Transport and the Climate, and they all go through the Planning Committee at
That's correct.
the end of the day. But I think it's enough in your report, rather than asking other councillors to speak on those. Okay, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
The next item is on my agenda is Community Matters, and this is where all the different organisations have. Oh, sorry, I've missed one. Sorry, I've just got one to do. I do apologise. I've got the Town and Community report. Oh dear. And the chairman is Sarah Miller. If I can pass over to you, Sarah. Sorry about that.
Oh,
That's on pages 20 and 21.
Can you hear me all right?
I can now.
Good, thanks. Yes, it's like everyone, this last year has been really very difficult. And especially for the retailers, businesses, restaurants and pubs. It hit Henley, like a lot of other towns and cities, really badly, and it was a time, it's something that many of us haven't seen before. What I thought was fantastic was how, as a town, as a community, we all pulled together and helped one another. The town staff, the town and community manager, Nikki, our market manager, and Naomi, our communications manager, all pulled together during lockdown, and we created stickers, awareness stickers, safety stickers for the retailers, and just for people coming into the town. We kept the markets open, which we felt was very important, but made them as safe as possible by, again, putting posters out to remind people to wear masks. And I think although some people at the time were a bit hesitant to come to the market, they didn't think it was safe enough. And even I felt that at one time. The staff proved me totally wrong. They did an amazing job. And we were actually voted one of the safest market by the SODC, which was fantastic. You know, the staff were up and out at sort of 7 a.m. in the morning. This is Helen and Nikki, just to make sure it was safe as possible for everyone. So that was great. And my thanks to Helen and Nikki and also Naomi, who is our latest recruit. She's our communications manager, and you've probably seen lots of fabulous social media out there reminding you about the markets when they're on, safety rules, wearing masks. I think Naomi is going to be someone that is just going to let everybody know what's happening with the town council, the meetings. She's the brand, the Henley Town Council brand. She's also working on the brand new website, Visit Henley. So much going on, but she's been a great addition. Unfortunately, events took a hit this year, although we managed to do something for Christmas. We didn't have the usual huge Christmas festival, but what we did, we created a digital advent calendar, and it was a smaller affair, but it worked. We had an elf trail, we had some music in the marketplace. Again, this is all of us putting our heads together and thinking of what we can do that is safe, but will also bring people into Henley, but not crowds of people. So that worked well. We're working hard on waste. We've got a new waste working group. We are looking into our bins. We hope to have a report on whether or not we refurbish bins or perhaps buy new bins later in the year. And we are looking at some waste reduction solar bins, which is great. I'm not going to go on and on because it is a big report, but on the whole, it's been it's been a hard year for us all, but as I said, it's been great how we've all just worked together. The officers, the community, absolutely everyone. And I'd just like to thank my Vice Chair, Councillor Paula Isaac, Sheridan, the Town Clerk, Helen, Town and Community Manager, Nikki, Market Manager, Naomi, Communications Manager, for your continued support and patience. It's been a tough year, and let's hope there's a glimmer of light at the end of this this tunnel. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. That basically is it from the Town Council, District Council and County Council, what we've achieved this year, which I think has been quite a lot. There's always negatives, but I think there's a lot more positives gone on over the last year or two than the negatives that are put out there at times. And I'll leave it at that. Right, now we're going to move on to what you do for the town, the organisations do for the town. I have 11 reports we're submitted. Normally at this stage, there's probably 30 or 40 of them, but I know it's been so difficult for some of the organisations, they've been unable to do hardly anything. So thank you for the ones that have come this evening. I'll go through the 11 we have on the agenda first, and I'll read them out and I'll ask someone to speak to them. And then I have 4 other people that wish to speak to their organisation. If anybody else is out there that I've missed, please shout out once I've finished. So the first organisation is AFC Henley, and we have Trevor Howell here this morning, and his report is on page 23 and 24 of your agenda. So Trevor, would you like to say a couple of words on behalf of AFC Henley?
Yes, thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Good. We've had a very good last couple of years. As you know, the major disappointment is not having the clubhouse project succeeding, but we accept the problem there, and we'll move on to something, I'm sure, in the future. The good news is, over the last 2 years, we've increased the number of our teams by about 50%. We're now fielding 29 teams from this month in the East Berks Football Alliance League. That makes us probably the 5th largest club in the league, and that league stretches from Reading right into West London and includes places like Bracknell and Wokingham and Slough and Windsor. So we punch quite a lot above our weight. So we're very pleased with that. In amongst those 29 teams, we've got a ladies team for the first time. It started as a mums group who were just for a kickabout. It's evolved into a proper team, and another team's coming through shortly, we think. And we've also started an all-girls group at under 10 for the first time, which will please the FA because they're always putting pressure on people to get girls involved. So that's happened. The other thing we're focusing on immediately and in the short term is to improve the state of our pitches. We had a substantial grant from the Football Foundation over the next 6 years to contribute towards the cost of maintenance. We've appointed a really top contractor now. He's got a contract on all 3 grounds, the YMCA, Harpston and Jubilee Park, and we've already spent about £30,000 on the pitches, and they're looking fantastic already. The guy we've got has actually worked at Wembley and St George's Park, and he's in great demand by FA clubs. So we're extremely fortunate to have him around. He's locally based actually on the Schwarzenbach estate, which is great news for us. The other thing we're focusing on, and it's the last point I want to make, is that we, in light of the FA report, or the report on the FA and child abuse in football, we had already started ramping up our child safeguarding. We had a meeting with the Oxfordshire FA on Zoom the other night, and they told us that what we were doing was exemplary, and we had all the ducks in a row that they wanted to see, and they were going to advise other clubs to look at our website to see what we're doing. So I think we can pat ourselves on the back. We're doing pretty well, I think. And I want to thank the Town Council obviously for all their efforts on the new development that hasn't quite come off, but they've been very supportive all the way through, and we're grateful for that. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. Just a quick update. we haven't forgot you. And
No.
Kath Adams did actually, she had a meeting today with the chap Earnshaw from the Oxfordshire FA about the 3G pitch. So things are ongoing anyway. So I can guarantee we won't stop. We will continue on that one. So
Okay,
thanks so much, Trevor. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one I have is the D2 Family Centre, which is on page 25 of the agenda, and I have Joanna Bray.
Yes, thank you. Hello. Just a quick update. It does generally say on the report, we haven't opened much this year at all, but we took the opportunity to redecorate the place and clean it up and then just work out how to open COVID safely, which we did in November for about 2 or 3 weeks and then had to lock down again. So it was a little bit frustrating, but we have sort of split into booked appointments rather than a free-for-all. But we did see quite a few people come back, and lots of people are still in touch about wanting to use the family centre still. So we're looking forward to opening again in May when we're allowed to. And it's all very clean and shiny at the moment, waiting to be used. So we haven't had a brilliant year, but we're looking forward to opening again. So that's really all I can say.
Okay, thanks very much, Jo. Thank you. The next one I have is Girl Guiding, which is on page 26 of the agenda. I did see Michaela earlier. Is she still here? Michaela Clark?
Yeah.
She's not on my page.
No. Oh, she is. Yes. No, she's not.
Okay, we'll move on. Can always come back to that. The next one is the 60 Plus Club. I keep calling it the Day Centre. I apologise, Jill. Jill Dodds is the chairman of the 60 Plus Club. That's on page 27 of the agenda.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like all of you, we've had a really difficult year. We closed on the 17th of March. We've opened for short periods in between. And COVID came at a really difficult time because the club was doing so well. We had so much support and financial support as well as everything else. So we look forward to opening again. Of course, we have lost quite a few members because although we say over 60s, most of our members are well into their 80s. Sadly, we've lost a lot of members. And of course, being closed for the year, we haven't been able to recruit members. So the treasurer and Liz Hodgkin and myself, we've put our heads together. Now, the club's been going for 50 years. We've got an anniversary coming up, founded in 1971. And I think the needs of the over 60s in 1971 were quite different from the needs now. And what we want to do is to ask the town, what would they like us to do with the club? It's beautifully positioned. The town council owns the building. You're very generous in giving us a grant. And are there other organisations that we could get involved with that could share our facilities? You know, I'm thinking of perhaps Green Henley, Sue at Nomad, or anything else that we could use that wonderful facility, as well as supporting, of course, our regular members and everyone over 60. Is there other groups that would find that we could work successfully with? So that's really, I want to open the debate with the town. We've been very lucky. We've had some very generous legacies, and we've had some wonderful support from the Tony Lane Foundation, who are offering to refurbish our kitchen. So we've got the money there from Ted Dorey's £20,000 he gave us as a legacy. And the Tony Lane Foundation are being very generous to us. So we just want to use all of this that we've got for the benefit of the town. So if any of the organisations out there would like to come and talk to us about how we could work with them, that's our message to them, really. And we open again, hopefully May, June, something when we're going to have a birthday party because it's 50 years. And you'll be invited, Madam. It'll be Madam Mayor, won't it?
Depends when it is. Yeah.
Well, you'll be gone, Ken. It'll be Sarah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jill. You've done so much for that club. It's unbelievable. And as you say, it's still there, and it will start thriving again. I'm sure of that. So thank you for that. The next one I've got is the Henley Bowling Club. Sally Daniels and Norman, they are normally here. I don't think they are here today. So there's a report from them on page 29. You know, like everybody else, they've suffered. They've played hardly any bowls for quite a while. So hopefully they will be able to start up very soon. And it's always a really social running club, that one. The town council go and play once a year. I think they've beat us now 27 times on the trot, but there you go. That's to be expected. The next one I have is the Henley Youth Festival, and that's on page 30 to 33. And is it Jo Dixon? Would you like to speak on that?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, just to say we had a very successful youth festival in March 2020. We got in just before lockdown. I think we were the last event in the Kenton before it shut, I think. I mean, I'm sure you're all aware of the Henley Youth Festival. I mean, we try and reach all children in Henley, particularly with our school workshops. Over the last few years, we've taken some of the school workshops back into the Kenton with performances and offered children the opportunity to perform on the stage, which has been fantastic, seeing them on the stage. So we have school workshops, art workshops, performing arts events. We have gig night for the older ones. We have an event for the primary age children and singers and musicians. We have an art film competition and exhibition at the River and Rome Museum, writing competition at the Bell Bookshop support that, Young Reporter, which the Henley Standard support, cross-country run, which has been a record number of runners last year. New last year was the cartoon competition that Michaela ran. We haven't been able to run the festival this year. It would have been happening, well, it would have happened a couple of weeks ago because of the pandemic, also because of a lack of volunteers. So we are looking for more volunteers for the committee. So we think we found a new chair. I've moved on now, I'm a trustee. And so we think we found somebody new to be the chair, and we need more volunteers for the committee, but it's all looking positive, I think, and we hope to be back in 2022. So thank you very much.
I think thanks a lot, Jo. I think the highlight of my year when I was deputy mayor to Glenn was that Glenn let me stand in the middle of a field freezing cold.
I remember. Yeah, giving out the medals.
250 medals around the necks of your runners, but thanks very much, Glenn, for that. I think I got Dave to do it for me, actually. Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Dave's done it as well, haven't you, Dave?
Well, thanks a lot for that, Jo. The next one, I've got the Nomad Youth and Community. I see you're here, Sue Pryor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I don't really want to add too much more to the report that we've already given, except to say that we're probably one of the few charities and groups in Henley that has been exceptionally busy over this last year. And that was busy not doing our normal kind of activities and programs, but the food bank certainly has kept us extremely busy. I think we totted up over the period from March to the end of March this year. We've delivered well over 3,000 bags of food, and you know, it's been an amazing journey for us, actually a real privilege for us to actually be getting out and about in the community. It's enabled us to keep in touch with people. You know, we knock on the door, leave the bag on the doorstep, or bags on the doorstep, stand back, and we can at least we've had conversations with people, many of whom are really struggling with their mental health well-being, and so we've been able to kind of stay in regular contact with many people. We have also been able to safely do some one-to-one work with individual young people and parents. You know, again, some who've really struggled through the pandemic, and endeavour to support them. I would like to say, you know, one really positive thing is that the people of Henley have also been absolutely amazing in the way they've donated food. I mean, on a normal year, we would just go down to Tesco's and empty the bin once a week. We've had to go down 3 or 4 times a week over this last year because it's just been rammed with food. People have been incredibly generous. People have donated money. So if we've been low on certain items of food, we could go and buy them. We've had endless supply of volunteers as well, which has been great. So for me, it's been a fantastic example of the community supporting the community, and I hope that in some ways we'll be able to continue that. The other thing is, I mean, Jill Dodds mentioned that the 60+ group is celebrating 50 years. In May, we celebrate 25 years of existence in Henley. And over the next year, we're going to be launching a funding initiative to try and raise 25k. And we're going to start off in May with a sponsored ergo row across the channel. So we're setting up our room with ergo rowing machines because it's about 25 miles across the channel. So we'll be looking for sponsorship. If anybody would like to join us, we're very welcome. Please get in touch. But so thank you, Henley. Thank you to the Town Council for your support.
I'm sure you'll raise that money quite easily, Sue. Just one thing, and I was going up Valley Road the other day, and I stopped off and talked to this fellow who was repairing a few bikes, and that was obviously Roger Cole, who sadly is leaving the area. Would you just like to say a few words about Roger, because you obviously know him much better than I do?
Yeah, well, obviously Roger's been a great advocate of ours, has chaired chair of trustees. He retired from leading the Henley Baptist Church 2 or 3 years ago now, and he's kind of stayed around in Henley, but he felt very much that he was drawn to Swindon. He's been actually helping lead a church in Swindon, and they've asked him to kind of work with the church for a couple of years, and he's actually moved down there. In fact, he moved today.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, it's a sad loss, I think, for Henley, because I think he was quite well known, particularly with the bikes. we used to have him in actually to run bike workshops, so we'd have some of the kids in, and they'd learn how to repair their bikes, do their brakes, mend their punctures. He was certainly a very popular guy, and will be very missed.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks for those few words, thank you. The next one I have is Henley Society. I was hoping Jeff Luckett was going to be here, and Jeff was going to tell us how you get more people to join all your different clubs. Like, he's raised the membership of the Henley Society unbelievably. Julian, you're a member of the Henley Society, Julian Brooks?
Yes, I am, Ken. And I know Jeff was trying to join the meeting. I was trying to put my video on, but that's unfortunately beyond my technology at the moment. And I know he was trying to join the meeting. He was having difficulty with his broadband. So if I may just add a few words to his report, which I think find. So really, as you said, we've had a real new lease of life over the last 12, 18 months since Jeff took over the chairmanship of the Henley Society. And as you said, we're heading for a doubling of our membership over the last few months, as having a membership campaign under his leadership. The last 12 months or so, we've been undertaking a few small projects just to enhance the look of the town. For example, some of the Victorian terrace house signage is looking a little bit weather beaten, so we've tidied that up.
That's brilliant.
at the grass stair in front of the Three Horseshoes pub. Perhaps not very significant, but tidied up after Zoom had done their best. We're now getting involved with town and community in the renovation of the Phillimore fountain, and working with Townlands on a garden project. Again, all to do with enhancing the look of Henley. Things we can't expect the town council to do everything. We must play a part in that. We've also been having some conversations with Miss Leo of the Red Lion Hotel. It is at an entry point to Henley. We want to ensure it retains its iconic look and feel and retains the name Red Lion in its title. Talking about entry points into Henley, we've also been watching very carefully the proposal for the hotel in the station car park, and will continue to do so. We were expecting a planning application a couple of months ago, but it hasn't appeared I'm aware of. We also do, of course, as a statutory consultee, rather unusually, but we do comment under David Whitehead's chairmanship of our planning committee and his team on all the planning applications in Henley, as I'm sure Michelle Thomas will have noticed. We've also been commenting on the recent white papers from on planning reform put forward by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, and responded in depth to 4 of them. Things like PDRs, so the developers can convert retail and other outlets into residential with a PDR without going through the normal planning process. We are keen that changes should go through the planning process, and that the district and town council should have a say in what happens in those matters. And indeed, we're on a membership recruitment campaign. Our AGM's on the 16th of April. So if you want to take part, please join us, thehenleysociety.org. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Julian. Yeah, the response you did to those 3 or 4 reports were excellent. I just hope that somebody in central government takes note of what we said, but that may just be through hope, but we'd like to think not. They would take more notice of what we're saying. Well, one would hope so.
May I add one very quick comment, is that our MP John Howell will be our guest speakers on our AGM on the 16th of April. If well, I'm sure you'll understand we will be lobbying him fairly robustly on those matters.
Yeah. Ian, I'm not taking any questions, but you can go. No,
I'm the representative on the Henley Society for the Town Council. There's one item that Julian Brooks has left off that I would like to mention, which is the slipway, if you don't mind, just 1 minute. And the Henley Society have been very engaged and very helpful in working with the town clerk and Caroline Adamson, who's the estates officer at the town council, on digging out information on the slipway, working with people and helping us to develop the various different aspects of trying to make sure that the slipway is restored as a slipway, the concrete is removed, and that we protect it as a public amenity in the long term. So I'd like to thank Jeff Luckett in particular, and Valerie Alacia, the Henley Society, for their support on that, where they've been excellent.
Okay, thank you for that, Ian. The next one I have is the Henley Lions Club, and I'm surprised Dave Murray's not here. To be honest, I don't think we've got anybody from the Lions Club. I'm an ex officio on that as mayor, and I'm a Lion at Large as well, actually, for what a Lion at Large is. A Lion at Large, actually, I was a member for 10 years, and then I decided to move on to other things. So I became a Lion at Large. So I'm still a member of them. The Lions Club do an unbelievable amount of work on fundraising. And COVID has absolutely hit them so hard, you would not believe it. And about the only fundraising that they did this year was just before Christmas, with the Father Christmas on the trailer, dragging around Shiplake and Henley. and they managed to make about £5,000 or £6,000 there. But they have really struggled on fundraising. They're one of the best groups of people that you could ever work with. They're fantastic members there. Some have been members for 25, 30 years. Dave was, when I first joined in 1991, Ian Forster was there, obviously Dave Murray, a chap called Mulcahy, Patrick Mulcahy. They've done so much work for this town. When we look at some of the town medals we present, there's one or two of those there that probably deserve one and will be presented one in the future. They do a lot for Henley, a lot for the charities of Henley. So thank you, Henley Lions Club. We've got a report from St Mary's Church from the Reverend Jeremy Taylor. I don't see Jeremy anywhere. Jeremy's a good chap, actually. He's on a lot of the charities that I'm on, and he's always got a fair bit of input. I would say he's a bit different to the normal reverend or vicar. He seems more outgoing than normally. And I think their biggest success, or his biggest success, was at the last, at the Christmas late night shopping evening, when we were singing a rock song on the town hall steps with Duncan from Trinity. I think that's been the highlight of his stay over the last 4 years. That's just my view. Moving on from there, I've got Walkers of Welcome. I did see Peter Stone before. Is Peter still here? Yeah, Peter, I can see you.
Yes,
Peter.
hi there. I am here.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got anything to add to the report.
You haven't?
No.
No. Okay, thank you, Peter. Right, I have 4 other people down here. I have Mel Haynes from the Army Cadets. Mel, over to you.
Hi, thank you for inviting me to this meeting. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Second Lieutenant Mel Haynes. I've taken over from Lieutenant Tom Fern, who has now been promoted and moved on to a different area. I've only just took over 6 months before COVID kicked in, as such. In the last year, since March, the cadets have not been parading at Friday Street. So pretty much from last March, they haven't returned. However, we've managed to keep kind of the same level of cadets. We've had a few leave, but we've managed to gain 7 new cadets through virtual training, and we hope to integrate them into the detachment. For those that don't know, Army Cadets is a youth organisation for children aged 12 to 18. We're sponsored by the MOD, so we get to use kind of kit and equipment as such, but it is not a recruitment source. We heavily rely on, for the detachment Henley itself, on donations through charitable events that we help at, such as Henley Show and Henley Half Marathon. So if there is any upcoming charity events or donations where we can kind of work and help out the community, then just drop me an email and we're willing to help out, depending on if we're allowed from higher up as such. I'd also like to say thank you to the Henley Herald and Henley Standard for publishing some of the articles that we write. During lockdown, the cadets have continued to achieve in all aspects, as well as their military kind of style of training. They've continued to pass through DOV, so Duke of Edinburgh Award, also through the CVQO Award, which is kind of external qualifications that the cadets can use. Also, I've had a lot of cadets ask for job references, which is really, really good to see, and references for uni applications. We've had one young lad, which I'm sure you've all read about in the news, an ex-cadet Colour Sergeant Tom Fielder, who's now a junior soldier at Harrogate. So he's progressed onto his life in the military as well. So yeah, I'd also like to say thank you to the Leanders Club and to Zara and her brother Andrew Crockett, who have given us permission to use the fields up by Remnham Hill, which is their land, and the Leanders Club have allowed us, when we return, to use their car park as a drop-off point. So I really appreciate that. The only challenge we face when we return, when we're given a date as such, is just for the cadets to kind of get back into the training. Normally when we go on residential weekends, it's based at Bicester, so the challenge there is going to get the cadets to the place, because obviously kind of coach sharing and all that sort of stuff isn't relied upon the cadets. It's we call it parent power. So that's our only kind of challenge that we face. But I think the cadets have been developing really well through all the online training and self-directed learning, and we've continued to achieve. We are one of the biggest and most successful detachments in Oxfordshire, and the cadets have been kind of a real kind of, they've been good themselves. I'm really proud of them all. Just a last note, if you know if there's any grants available, then just drop me an email and they'd be much appreciated. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Mel, that was an excellent report. Absolutely brilliant. A little round of applause. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well done. That was excellent. Thank you. Next one I have is Councillor Dave Eggleton, the Gainsborough Residents Group.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Gainsborough Residents Association started about six or 7 years ago. I've lost count really. So over the last year, we've done. Let's go through my notes. During COVID, I set up three food banks: Waitrose, Sainsbury's, and Topshops. We supported nomads with funds and food to help, because they were going through quite a lot of stuff, and we were donated money, so we split the money with nomads. We done Easter eggs because WH Smith's, when they were locked down, they gave us all their Easter eggs, so we gave a lot of those to the hospital and vulnerable people around and over 60s. We also done food parcels for over 60s. We done PPE equipment to all the care homes and people that were looking after people. So that was like face masks, sanitizer, and other products, gloves, and all that sort of stuff. So we also, the last thing we've done 120 hampers for the over 60s in and around Henley, with the support of SOHA, Salford District Council and Henley Town Council, giving us money to make that possible. So I'd like to thank those organisations because without their support, we couldn't have helped other people. So we're carrying on doing the more good work. We also got involved with the zebra crossing on Grays Road, which is obviously now up and running, and loads of people are using it. My last thing, I'd like to say a big thank you to all councillors and the mayor for their support during my deputy mayor. Thank you.
And I, Dave, as a vulnerable person, would like to thank you for that Easter egg. Thanks a lot, Dave. Well done. You and your team, well done. The next I have is Hayards, and I've got Angela Pengilly somewhere. There we go. You're muted at the moment.
Hello, okay. I'm back. Well, as a performing society, obviously we haven't, because the Kenton Theatre has been closed, and so has our studio. And so there's been very little for the members. However, a lot of work is going on in the background, and we're hoping to put on Shrek in November at the Kenton, supposing that that is possible. The annual Studio Dinner Theatre, which has become famous for its hilarity and generally good show, obviously couldn't take place, but Julie Huntington is hoping to put that on next year in the studio, and it's going to be Heidi High. And the local personality you'll probably know of, Mike Rowbottom, has written a show called Sing from the Heart, which we hope to put on in October in the studio again, if this is all possible. So there are positive things happening. We'd like to thank the council, of course, for the grant that we received or are receiving, which will enable us to refurbish our committee room, because the studio is a wonderful asset. Many of you may have visited it for classes, for rehearsals, all sorts of things, performances. But like all buildings, it needs repairs, and so we'll be able to go ahead with that job. Meanwhile, we're also having to repair the roof and for leaks and all sorts. But we're taking the opportunity to, with being closed, for various things to happen there, to make it continue to be a really fantastic venue for performance. Purdy, you may have heard of, the jazz singer, uses the studio. People can hire it for various reasons. So we just wanted all to get back together again. So I think that's it really. And of course we haven't been able to take part in the drama festival. One plea I would like to make is that Brian Villas, many of you may know, local accountant, retired, has been our accountant, our treasurer for 16 years. And I think he's allowed to want to properly retire now. So if anybody knows of an accountant or retired accountant who might like that volunteer role, we'd be delighted to hear. And also we'd like more committee members to help us do all the things that need to be done. But thank you to Henley for supporting the Operatic Society when you're able to, and please continue to do so.
Thank you, Angela. The final one I had was Susan Edwards from the Henley Choral Society, although I may come to Dave Dickey in a minute. So Susan Edwards from the Henley Choral Society.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had the shutdown last year, I think a week before our public performance. We'd already booked an orchestra, booked the venue, sold the tickets. So that was quite problematic. As it was so close to the event, we were under contract to pay the orchestra. But we thought, like everybody else, this won't last very long, we'll postpone it. Anyway, we finally came to an agreement that in September, they would perform in Henley, which they did so on the bandstand, for which we thank the Henley Town Council for permitting us to use the Mill Meadows and the bandstand. We had help from staff at Henley Town Council to make this go very well. It was well attended, it was socially distant, and it was a most glorious day. It was a free concert for the people of Henley, and I think it was generally appreciated. We've continued to sing online, which isn't quite the same singing on your own in the kitchen into your computer as it is when you're with your friends at D2. But we have managed to learn new skills, and we made a recording at Christmas time of music and illustrating what we do. And it was sent to various people, including, I think, the mayor and the town clerk had a copy. Our next concert will now be July the 3rd, fingers crossed. We hope to, we've been obviously lost money over the year. We are hope that we'll be able to gradually retain our feet. We haven't lost very many members, but we have lost some. However, the Henley Youth Choir, which is obviously much smaller than the adult choir, has lost members. I think the children, especially if they're being taught online on screens all day long, some of them, and particularly the parents, felt that it wasn't good for them to be then doing more screen work in the evening. But we hope that we'll pick up again. But they did apply for a grant from Henley Town Council, so that when they start up and we can do it, they can go into local schools and run workshops with the schools. And so we are very grateful and for the support and the money that Henley Town Council has given us. So we are still there. We hope to be back in person before long, and we hope to see you, all of you, at our concerts. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Susan. David, I'll come to you on the next item. Is there any other outside organisation any member would like to speak now? Okay, David, you're muted at the moment, David. I'm going to move on to item 5(2), which is questions and comments from electors on any matter which affects the town. So I'll come to you now, David, on that item.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I'd unmuted myself, but I hadn't. Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to talk about one club as well, but I'll do that second. The two things that the council have sponsored me on in terms of getting started, which I'm grateful for. One is Clean Air for Henley, You see, we haven't been able to do our school visits, which is a great shame. But you see our banners around the town, thanks to Billy Idol sponsoring a campaign for the city of New York with $1 million. And we've been able to acquire a few of his banners. Is it still needed? All I can tell you is that 18 of the first 22 days in December, we broke the legal limits. And we're working hard to reduce the number of HGVs going through the centre of our town. And hopefully that will come to fruition. But we will, once COVID goes and schools are really back and we can go in, we've been, in fact, invited into 3 of the primary schools already when we've seen people in the town. So we can continue to be accepted on that side. I'd also like to say just a couple of words about Café Scientifique. It was in 2012 that the town council gave me a small grant so I could get started. It's a series of monthly events. We run about 10 a year. And in fact, in December, it all being well, we will run our 100th event, which is quite, I think, really, if you had told me I'd have got to 100, I would have said you were crazy. But maybe it's me who's crazy.
You're never 100, David.
No, okay, well, I was going to send you a birthday card, but I can't afford it, Ken. But anyway, we've got about 500 members now. We get about well over 100 at each event. And because we've had to go to Zoom to run these events, we have speakers now from St Andrews, and I wouldn't have been able to get somebody to come here from there, so that's good. And now I've got a person who's supposed to be for the community, but I've got a member who attends there, and he's from Nova Scotia. So we're becoming worldwide, but it's going very well, and I always appreciate getting started. So that's what I was going to say, Ken.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot for that, David. Does anybody else wish to ask a question or make a comment on anything to do with the town or the town council? They're more than welcome to now, or forever hold your peace. Okay.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah, by all means.
Thank you. It's about Gravel Hill. For many years now, we've been discussing, and each year when we've had meetings, or a couple of times, I've asked our district and county councillors and town councillors, what is the progress on putting the pinch point halfway up the hill at the position where the pavement more or less disappears at the Basket Makers Arms, that cottage? And I think last time, which must have been 2 years ago, Stefan, you said it was well on its way.
If the answer, yeah, okay. Have you finished the question? Yeah. If the answer to this doesn't affect PERDA, I'm prepared to let you answer. If you think it does, I won't. So it's really up to your choice, Stefan.
Yes, I'll be very careful. I won't break PERDA rules, but I'll just give a statement of fact. The pinch point garnered considerable opposition from an air quality point of view, and also from residents of West Street. So therefore, with the advice of the OCC officers, we've dropped the pinch point. But we have now moved on to the acquiring the pedestrian crossing, which has been through a proper consultation process with 120 positive comments. That will be decided on the 29th of April by Yvonne Constance, the portfolio holder for the county council. That will actually have an effect, I think, on speeds on Gravel Hill. And that's about all I can say at the moment.
I think that's fair enough, yeah. Yes, Susan.
That's extremely disappointing and complete news for the people who've been campaigning. I don't know how many people know the part of the pavement I'm talking about.
I do.
It's extremely narrow, almost impossible to get a pushchair, certainly a wheelchair, around that bit where the traffic, despite the 20-mile speed limit, is speeding up that hill at a fantastic speed. It is dangerous. Somebody is going to get seriously injured at some stage. I appreciate that people who live in West Street do not want some more traffic coming down their road, but it's a question of weighing up, isn't it? Some residents' preferences against safety.
Let me just answer that as well, because this came up a couple of weeks ago, and I've been in touch with the police about the speed, and I agree with you. I think traffic goes faster up the hill rather than down the hill, amazingly enough. Yeah. And they will be at some time. Where have you gone? They will be at some time put in speed, I wouldn't say speed traps, but they will be checking the speeds going up and down the road. So the police are prepared to, well, they are going to do that. And I've got that in writing. Other than that, I don't think we can add any more at the moment, Susan. Thank you.
Very disappointing.
Okay, yeah. That's your view, that's fine. Right. Sorry.
It's for the people who walk up and down. It's
yeah, I wouldn't say I disagree with you. It is dangerous the way the cars speed up and down there, and hopefully the police will look into it and stop it eventually.
But Ken, it's especially dangerous when the pavement is so narrow.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. I think everybody knows the situation there. But we, you, everybody, we're in the hands of the police. The police can stop it. As Stefan said, you've got the 20-mile-per-hour signs down there. And I drive down there, actually, believe it or not, at 20 miles an hour. So if you drive at 20 miles an hour, it is safe. We need the police to go up there on a regular basis. You can shake your head, but we need the police to go up there on a regular basis, and maybe that will stop. No, Stefan, I don't want any more. Stefan, no, thank you. That's fine. Thank you. Right, anybody else have any questions? No, I don't see any. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 6 on closing remarks. For me personally, this is what used to be the highlight at the end of the council year, when we would, Jill Dodds may well remember, back in the 1990 when we first got involved with this, the annual town meeting, nobody turned up at the annual town meeting. It finished in about 20 minutes and that was it. And when we got elected, we invited all the outside organisations to an annual town meeting, and the council chamber was absolutely packed. And that for me was basically the highlight of the year, listening to the organisations speak on what they'd managed to do throughout the year. Unfortunately, this year we are where we are. Hopefully next year we will be back in the council chamber and the numbers will rise. I think, as we've heard this evening, it's been a tough year. We all know that it's been a tough year for everybody, but there is now this glimmer of light, and hopefully this will get brighter over the next few days and weeks. And the good sign now is, I think the majority of us thought, the majority of events in the town over the summer and autumn would be cancelled, but the majority now seem to be taking place. And I think this is a massive plus for the town. We're going to have the shops opening on the 12th of April, which hopefully people will go in and spend their money they've been storing up. We've got the reopening of the River and Rome Museum. Restaurants, I think everybody wants to try a restaurant. Hopefully, come the end of May, the restaurants will be very, very busy. We have the Eat Food Festival by Philippa Ratcliffe taking place in June. The Trad Boat Rally is now taking place. We have the Henley Town and Visitors Regatta. We have the Henley Royal Regatta, the Henley Festival, the Rewind Festival, the Literary Festival. So we've got so much to look forward to now over the next few months. And I think the people of not just of Henley, but of Britain deserve that. And I think in Henley, we've done everything that we could have done. We've managed to keep the COVID at bay, and I think everybody can be proud of that. So let's hope that normality will soon return. I've got two lads and their families. One's in Perth in Western Australia, the other one's in Queenstown in New Zealand, and normality is there. It can return. So hopefully it will return sooner now rather than later. Thank you all for attending, and enjoy.